this afternoon. How many remember Brother Jerry Kuhn?
Amen.
How many love Brother Jerry Kuhn?
Yes.
Ah, he is doing so well in Moore, Oklahoma. I have no idea. He is pastoring a church in Moore, and I talked with him today, and I talk to him every day almost. And man, he is just, God is blessing that young man. And I'm telling you, I say young man, he's only 10 years younger than me, but he is. God is moving in that church, and new couples and new people coming all the time. And he said, I told him this a long time ago. I said when I started pastoring, I said, I don't do anything different than I did when I was a youth pastor. It's just older people. And he's like, well, it's the truth. I don't. What you see is what you get, you know. And so the struggles are different. The problems are different. But what we do is the same. And he told me today, he said, you know, you told me that, and I said, oh, well, that's not true. He said, it is true. I said, I do exactly what I know to do, which is, I do exactly what I did as a youth pastor. And because whether you're a youth pastor or whether pastor, you have pastor in you. And you can't help it but love people and take care of them. I just wanted to tell you, because sometimes because you know, he hadn't been here in a long time to preach. He likes to have to come preach service so often on Sunday night. And he hadn't been here because he's been pastoring a church. He pastors an independent Assembly of God church in Moore, Oklahoma. It's called Capitol Hill in Moore, just not too far off 535. And then they have an independent assembly conference there tomorrow, and he's speaking at 6:30. So if you'd like to go over there and see him and be supportive of him, I'm sure he'd love to see you. But 6:30 tomorrow at Capitol Hill, you can Google it. Google it up, and you can find it. You can find it. You can Google it and find it. And I knew it. As soon as I said it, there's no snorting. You need a, aren't you supposed to be working on a pumpkin or something? Okay, listen. And so I just wanted to share with you a little bit about success, about young men in our organization that are succeeding. And Jerry's still part of our organization. He still has license with the Pentecostal Church of God. And I talked with Tim Painter. How many know who Tim Painter is? Nobody. Okay, he's from Panama. Some of y'all do. But he's from Panama, Oklahoma. And Panama, Oklahoma is a little spot in the road in southeastern Oklahoma. And Tim's been here. He preached one time for us, I think. But he's part of Assembly of God in McAllister now. And he's one of the not executive pastors. He's the administrative pastor, and he's over missions in that church at Northside Assembly of God in McAllister. And they just had a missionary conference, and he's doing so well. But he's one of our ministers. He's one of our guys. He's 32 years old. Now, Tim, I'm sure y'all don't know him. He pastored a church of about 150 people in a town of 2,500. That's pretty good. And so he left there and went to McAllister, the Northside Assembly. And man, he used to fight doing small groups. I'll never do a small group. You know what he's doing? A small group on Wednesday nights. I love it. I love how God does it. It says nanny nanny boo boo. I love that. I love it. He's that's not, you know, we're gonna have friends. But anyway, now he's doing a small group on Wednesday night that's growing like crazy. He does it in his house, and they do it adults, and it's just crazy. God is so good. But I'd like to keep you abreast of what's going on in your organization, what's going on with your young ministers, and what's going on in their lives, because God is so good to us, right? God is so good to us. And I want to talk to you for just a little bit about the flood of adversity coming and how God will stand up whenever floods of adversity come. And I think it's fitting with all the hurricane things that are going on and all the stuff that's going on, the tragedies that are going on. I think the estimate was $24 trillion of damage in the Houston area, the Gulf. Is that right? $24 trillion. Is that right? I think it's right. $24 trillion of damage in the Houston Gulf Coast area. Houston, Louisiana, Mississippi, that area, okay? Alabama, all that area over there. If you've never been to that area, it is beautiful.
Come on. What?
It is beautiful. The sand is white and beautiful. That's one of my favorite places. We went to Destin this last summer, and man, it's one of my favorite places I've ever been. I like going. We stayed at a nice resort, just a half mile down the road. There's just an empty beach. You just walk. You park on the side of the road. There's a pathway between two places that the Air Force owns, and you walk through, and it's just beach. There's just white sand, beach, and water. There's, of course, if you want to shower or anything like that, you're out of luck. I mean, you have to wait to get your hotel room. But it's just, I love that area. And it's $24 trillion worth of damage to that area. I can't even imagine what that looks like. And so, with all that said, even in that adversity, God is going to do something great out of that. I believe God's already done something great out of that. If I've said before in this church before, and I'll say it again, that I believe that the news pits one race against the other race to have news to report. They make your anxiety high so they can sell advertising to a company that gives you anxiety medicine, whom the network is in partnership with, that makes the anxiety medicine. I'm sure there's nothing connected to that at all. But still yet, we have all those issues going on. But I look and I see, it doesn't matter what color somebody is or who they are. They're helping somebody get in a boat and get them out of there. They're sweeping up, they're picking up, because God is doing something and bringing people together. And listen, and I know people talk bad about Joel Osteen's church and things like that, but I listened to, did anybody listen to his rebuttal to that on the internet? Anybody see that on Facebook?
Yeah.
Great rebuttal. He didn't say, you guys are sorry, you don't know what's going on. He said, we're going to love them, we're going to smile, and we're going to do what we know how to do. We're going to do what God says to do. We're just going to help people. It doesn't matter what our enemies say. We're going to do what God says that's for us to do. We're just going to help people get back on their feet.
Amen.
And I love that, because God's going to get glory out of whatever it is the devil means for evil. God's going to turn it around for good. Amen? If you have your Bible, turn with me to Joshua chapter 1. And I'm going to get you out of here as fast as you want to get out.
We had 3 people that were able to come to the church to open it.
Yes, had 3 people. So what we don't understand is they live down there too. And they're trying to keep their own houses from being flooded and everything else. And that's exactly, I had 3 people. That's a lot of people to deal with 3. And that's a lot. Thank you, Dean. That's good. But I just, it's incredible to me. But God's going to turn things around for good, man.
Amen.
I promise you, that church will be stronger than it ever was.
Amen.
It'll have more people than it ever had, because they're going to help people. I just know that. Joshua chapter 1, starting with verse 11. Sorry, excuse me. Pass through the host and command the people, saying, prepare your victuals, for within 3 days you'll pass over this Jordan to go and possess the land which the Lord God has given you to possess it. Now I have preached this so many times. If you'll notice, I didn't even look at it hardly when I read it. Because I've preached it so many times, and I've preached it in this church going on 5 years. Actually, probably going on 6. 6 years about possessing the land that God gave us to possess.
Amen.
I've talked about it, I've prayed about it, I've sought God about it, I've preached it, I've cried, I've commanded it, I've begged, I've pleaded, everything I can think of to get our mindset to turn from this little location to the nation, to the state, to the city. I've tried everything I know how to do to try to get our mindset to change from simply, simply being introspective to looking outward. It's fine to look inside to find what's going on in your own life, and you're supposed to judge yourself, and you're supposed to check yourself, and you're supposed to do all those things. But to be introverted all the time, was it you that saw the introverts parade? Anybody see that on Facebook? He showed me this, and they showed a picture of an empty street. And in the street, there's a parade of the introverts. And nobody went out to the...
Come on.
Wish I had something to throw. And so, I thought it was hilarious. It's kind of like that Far Side cartoon where it says "School for the Gifted" on top of the school, and the door says "Pull," and the kid's pushing against the door. I love that. That's my humor. I love that. School for the gifted and they can't figure out to pull the door open instead of push. I love that. That's my humor. And so, anyway, all this, I said all this, we've talked about all this stuff. We've talked about possessing the land. We've talked about all these things, right? For years, I've talked about it. For years. Brother Turner talked about it. When are we going to do it?
Come on.
maybe you're just waiting on me. I don't know. I don't know what else to do. I'm waiting for the next instruction. I don't know. I feel sometimes that maybe we really don't want to possess the land. Maybe we're just comfortable. It's easier to go to church and go home. And it is. It is easier to go to church and come home and not do anything. It's easy, right? It's easy to go to our women's meetings, our men's meetings, our remnant meetings, our next step, our ignite, and go eat and go home. That's good preaching, Brother Jeff. I know it is because I got quiet.
Yeah, praise God.
It's easy to do those things. And I get fatter and fatter because God makes good food. Amen? So I'm not saying anything about that. But here's the deal. Do we want easy or do we want our calling?
Come on.
Because our calling's not always easy.
That's right.
Ladies, I don't know what this lady preached this weekend. I don't have any idea. I don't even know her. I don't know anything about her. I don't even have a clue who she is or where she came from. But I know that God gave her a word because you guys all came back and said, man, that's one of the best we've ever had. That's one of the best we've ever been to. And there's over 300 ladies there, correct? Something like that? That's amazing to me. They get 300 women together, something's going to get done. Amen? That's the truth. Something's going to get moved. I guarantee you somebody moved something. Because it didn't look good there. And so somebody changed something. But you get 300 women together who are ready to worship, something's going to move. And I promise you they weren't quiet. I promise you they weren't quiet. I guarantee you people who are staying in the hotel were like, what is going on down there? I promise you. I've been to many. I've been and I've seen the service and go, man, they're going to get thrown out of here. And so, but it's just crazy how that is something that when we get there, then we come back home and all of a sudden we fall back into, oh, it's just church.
That's good. Come on.
Oh, Sunday night again. I've been to church 5 times this weekend. Maybe I could just skip out this one. Come on, help me now.
Preach it.
I've gone to church twice this week. Maybe I don't need to do Wednesday night. Maybe I don't need to do Sunday night or whatever. And I'm not getting on to you. I'm just saying sometimes how we sometimes think. But I've preached this forever. Prepare to take the land. Prepare to take the land. God sent me to tell you something. He sent me here as a pastor to get us to go across Jordan.
Amen.
We have too long sat beside Jordan because it was easier to sit in Jordan than it was to go fight the enemy at Jericho. It's easier to stay here and just be comfortable than it is to trust God that He's going to split the Jordan River and we're going to walk across on dry ground, because when you do that miracle, on the other side of the miracle is a battle. Because on the other side of that miracle is a battle because you're going to have to fight Jericho. And you can see Jericho from the other. I've been to the Jordan River. I can tell you that it's not wide enough anywhere I ever saw that you can't see the enemy on the other side. It is not some huge rolling on the river. It's not something like that river, okay? It's not. In some areas it's pretty full, but most areas it's a creek, okay? I'm just telling you. And it's green in a lot of areas, all right? And it's not some beautiful blue, like if Jesus walking on the water out of the deep blue sea. It's not, okay? It's not. It's just not what you picture in your head. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not. And there's no place that I've ever seen the Jordan River that's wide enough that you can't see across it. And you can see across it easily. And so they know that on the other side of Jordan there's a city named Jericho. We drove by Jericho. It's a big old city still. There's not walls there anymore, but there's still a city called Jericho. And you can still see it. And you can see where it is. And you're sitting there and you're looking and you go, wow, they know across there, if they get across this river, they have to go fight this big city. It's easier to stay on Jordan's side and not worry about the Jericho side. If you'll indulge me just a minute, in the, I believe it was in the 90s, they tried to turn Jericho into a little Las Vegas. They tried to make it into a resort town and things like that, and it was very popular for a little while there in that region, and then it started getting bombed and stuff like that, so they kind of shut it down, okay? And so they started having terrorist attacks and like that, so now there's these old casinos that are over there, and there's nobody in them, because they've all shut down, because, you know, when you're afraid to go because you're going to get killed, it's not really fun to go to the casino, right? And so they went and they closed them all down. So Jericho's still there. And Jericho was still a beautiful place at one time. And Jericho's still across the River Jordan. And it's still there. Even though the walls have fallen and it was taken by Israel, it's still there. But God sent me to tell you that it's time for ourselves to cross Jordan.
Yeah.
We've got to do it. Guys, I'm so tired of preaching this.
Come on. Come on.
It's time for us to prepare our meal.
Yes.
Prepare yourselves. It's time for us to not be frightened. To not be scared.
Amen.
To not be afraid of success.
Amen.
There's nothing wrong with succeeding. It doesn't make you a sinner because you succeed.
That's right.
It doesn't make you wrong and then not right in God's plan because you're succeeding. We're supposed to succeed. What does success mean in the church? Souls are being saved.
Amen.
I would give somebody $20 just to walk up and act like they got saved.
Come on.
No takers. Okay. Good. Time's up. Okay. Why? Because it has been so long since somebody has broken down and come to an altar. And I take very seriously that responsibility in my life because there's something that pastor's not doing right. If sinners aren't getting saved. There's something that I'm not doing. There's something that I'm not able to do or I'm not seeing if we're not being successful in that area. Somehow we're not reaching those we're supposed to reach. And if you know what I preached this morning, listen to me, you kind of got an inkling of what I was going to preach about tonight, is because until we start doing what God says do, until we start listening to the instructions of Jesus, we're never going to have our net on the right side of the boat.
Amen.
We're always going to have our net on the wrong side. We're going to have a pole out there with a liver on it trying to catch a catfish. And I don't know if there's any catfish in the River Jordan or in the Sea of Galilee. I didn't see any catfish because they jacked up some fish when I was over there. But I'm just letting you know, I just don't know if we're ever really going to cast our net on the right side until we start listening to what Jesus had to say. What did he say? Have you any meat? No? Well, why not? Because your net's on the wrong side. This is the way we've always cast. We've always, listen, this church has been here, the charter since 1953. Brother Ford got here in 1959. So, understand this. In a few years, we'll have our 70th anniversary of being a church in this town. In a few years. Okay? We've always cast on this side. We know what we're doing. I don't need your help, Jesus. We've got this. I don't need your help. But have you any meat? No, but we know where to fish. We're going to get some eventually. No, what I'm asking you is, do you have any meat? No. We don't have any meat. So cast your net on the other side. But I don't want to cast my net on the other side because that goes against everything that I know. I know how to catch fish, right? And so he said, prepare yourselves victuals, for within 3 days you'll pass over this Jordan and possess the land. So I want to ask you a question, and this is just because for my own sanity. For my own sanity. To prepare food, that means you have to catch some, right?
Come on. Come on.
And if we're supposed to go to possess the land that the Lord gave us to possess it, we can't go without food, right?
Amen.
And if we don't catch any food, because God said, I'll make you fishers of men. And if we're not catching food, then we're not growing and we're not doing what it is that God called us to do. Now listen, can I share with you this, that you don't just have to go after the lowly of the low. There's the high of the high that still need God.
Amen.
And the in-between,
That's right.
there are people that make $30,000, $40,000 a year that need God, just like those that make $15,000, $16,000 a year, and those that make $100,000 or $1 million a year. There's still in between. All that range of people need God.
Amen.
And we don't. And I'm not telling you just have to go to the slums and find somebody that's struggling, although we should.
Yeah. Come on.
But how about those that you know that maybe we're embarrassed to talk about Jesus to, but maybe they're wanting somebody to talk to Jesus? Talk about Jesus to them?
Amen.
I have a friend that his wife came to church here 3 times. He came once. They haven't been back in a month. She even with the ladies group, Angie. Remember? Haven't been here in a month. I talked to her the other day and I said, hey, where's Bishop? Yeah, I need to get going. She has some issues that she needs to deal with. She has some physical issues that she needs to deal with. And I can't help but believe that she was looking for an answer. And maybe she didn't find it. And maybe she said, well, there's nothing to that anyway. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that maybe that's what happened. But she didn't say that. But I'm just telling you maybe that's what happened is she was looking for somebody to speak life into her. Come on now.
That's good. Amen.
Prepare yourselves a meal and eat it. For 3 days you will cross over Jordan. No one needed to be frightened and no one needed to be lost. There's no reason to be frightened to go do what Jesus said to do. There's no reason to be frightened to do what God has called us to do. There's no reason that anybody should be left behind or that anybody should be lost. We should all take that step together and go and be what God's called us to be, right? We should all step across Jordan together. But we have to do it the way Jesus and God says do it. He said within 3 days, the time of 3 days is not insignificant. It's significant. 3 days. Jesus is in the grave?
3 days.
3 days. It's not insignificant. The Lord rose on the 3rd day. On the 3rd day, Abraham saw a place to sacrifice Isaac, Genesis 22 and 4. On the 3rd day, the Lord came and visited the people of Mount Sinai, Exodus 19:11. There was a marriage in Cana, and on the 3rd day, there's a wedding in Cana, John 2 and 1. The 3rd day is a time of change.
Amen.
The time of altering.
Yeah.
You went from lost to saved because of the 3rd day.
Amen.
Amen.
It's not just a cool name for a band. It's a significant time change. 3rd day. In the 3rd day, things in your life change. A time when we think that we know. I'm sorry. A time. Hang on. A time when we think we know changes into what the Lord knows. A time that we think, listen, they thought they knew Jesus was dead. But in the 3rd day, they found out that what they knew wasn't right and what he said was.
Amen.
So whenever you are going through something in your life, wait a minute. Back up and wait a minute. Because in 3 days, something could change in your life significantly. Something can change in your life. So as a church, I want to talk to you for just a minute about the 3rd day. The 3rd day is a time of miracles. The 3rd day being a perfection of the Godhead. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. 3 days. 3 people, right? Not 3 people. 1 person, 3 parts.
Yeah.
3 being what you're made of. A mind, soul, and a spirit. 3 being the times that Jesus will enter into the atmosphere. He came as a baby. He's coming back to take the church, and he's coming back with the church.
Amen.
3 times he's coming in the atmosphere. Help me somebody.
Amen.
3 times. 3 being perfection. Sorry. The 3rd day is what is a waiting period before you're crossing. You have to wait until the priest can lead you. I don't want to be offensive. I want to be effective. I never want to be offensive because if you're offensive, you're not effective. because all you do is shut people off. But we have to have in place people that can step across Jordan. And they can step into the brink of the Jordan. And then God can split the Jordan. We have to have those people. There are the priests that can carry the ark and they can step into the water. And nobody can move until the priests get into the water. Because if the priests aren't in the water, everybody else will drown. You understand what I'm talking about? The story, you need to read the story. Alright, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, here's the deal. I'll read the story. If I can remember where it's at. Let me get this first. 3 being the times that Jesus will enter the atmosphere. 3 being the waiting period before you're crossing. You have to wait for the lead of the priest before you can pass over Jordan. Why? Because God told him in this. Go ahead and put my verse back up there. Let's go 11, 1 and 11. Let's go to Joshua 3 and 1. 3 and 1. 3 and 1. And Joshua rose early in the morning, and they removed the shittim and came to Jordan, and all the children of Israel and lodged there before they passed over. Verse 2. They came to pass after 3 days. The officers went to the host. How many days?
3 days.
And they commanded the people, saying, when you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, and the priests and the Levites bearing it, then you shall remove from your place and go after it. Wait a minute. Go back. You're fine. You're fine. When you see when you see the priest carrying the ark, then you can remove from your place and follow after it. What's in the ark? The presence of the Lord, right? I know there's some bread and there's the rod and the tablets. I get that. But the presence of the Lord is in the ark, right? Anybody ever watch Raiders of the Lost Ark? Okay. And so, the presence of and all the Nazis melted. And so listen, that's Lacerations 9 and 6. Okay. And so, And so the presence of the Lord is in the ark. And so, as the ark is moved, we're supposed to follow the presence of the Lord. Right? Verse 4. Yet there should be a space between you and it, about 2,000 cubits by measure. Come not near unto it, that you may know the way by which you must go, for you have not passed this way heretofore. I love it. The priests are going to carry the ark. Now, you're supposed to follow it, but don't touch it. Not too close, because you need to know which way to go, because you've never gone this way before.
Come on.
You need to know which way you're going, and be back a little bit, because I'm going to show you how to go, but you've never been this way before, and I'm going to show you what to do. Verse 5. And Joshua said unto the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. Now, sanctify yourself. Sanctify yourself doesn't mean I'll read a scripture besides what the last one we read here was all week long. That's not sanctification. I feel like I do okay, but I can't do good enough for you for all week long for you. I don't feel like I can give you everything you need for a week. You can't just go by the last scripture we read and then say, well, yeah, we read that at Symbol of Praise on Sunday night. Yeah, Joshua 3 and 5. We read that's the last one I read until Sunday morning. That's not good enough. Sanctify yourself. Someone give me a good word for sanctify? Separate? For God's use, right? You know what we talk about? To be sanctified, to be separated for God's use? Okay. So for God to do wonders among you, you have to sanctify yourself. Oh.
Come on, preach it.
I always want to see God do great and mighty things. I just want to see it. I want to see God do such incredible things that everybody goes, that has to be God.
Amen.
That's what I want to see. And maybe I look for the grandiose and I need to just look for the small things. Small things are great. But man, I want to see an earth move. I want to see an ark built. I want to see a wall fall. I want to see a blinded eye open. I want to see an arm grow. I want to see I want to see a foot spin around there like it's supposed to be. I want to see something great and marvelous. I want to see God do God stuff, and they can't say, "Well, we just misdiagnosed you." No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I was 80 pounds yesterday, full of cancer. Now I'm 185 pounds, and I'm totally healed. That's what I want to see. I want to see God do stuff like that. But maybe we need to sanctify ourselves, or God's not going to do things, wonders among us.
Come on.
Because we just hang out and do our thing, and Sunday comes and rolls around, and it's time to go to church again, and we just kind of like, oh, whatever. It's church. Yeah, it is church. But it's important. Verse 6. Verse 6. And Joshua spake to the priests, saying, Take up the ark of the covenant and pass over for the people. The Spirit of the Lord passed among the people. Guys, you can't just read the Bible, you've got to read it. They didn't just pass by with a box. The Spirit of the Lord passed along the people and through the people. And they took up the ark of the covenant and went before the people. Verse 7. And the Lord said unto Joshua, This day I will begin to magnify thee in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so will I be with you. You want God to do something in your life? Do something out of the ordinary.
Amen.
Verse 8. And thou shalt command the priests to bear the ark of the covenant, saying, When you come to the brink of the water in the Jordan, stand still in the Jordan. When you get to the brink, stand still in the Jordan. Guys, my feet are pruned from standing in the brink of the Jordan.
Come on. Amen.
I look like a little kid that's been in the bathtub for an hour and a half playing. I'm all wrinkly. My feet are wrinkled. Waiting to cross over Jordan. I'm ready. I don't know if you understand what you guys have been there, right? You know what I mean? You've been in the lake all day. You've been in the pool all day. You're all pruny. You know? And I'm ready. Verse 9. And Joshua said unto the children of Israel, Come here, and hear the words of the Lord your God. Verse 10. And Joshua said, Hereby you shall know that the living God is among you, and that you will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Gergesites, and the Amorites, and the Jebusites. Verse 11. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth passes before you into Jordan. Now, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to get across, and maybe I'm not doing a very good job of this, but this is what I know. I don't need anybody else to come into my church that I'm a member of, and I've been a member of this church since I was 20 something years old, whatever. I don't need anybody else to come in here and tell me that I'm called. I don't need anybody else to come in here and tell me I'm anointed. I don't need anybody else to come in here and tell me that I'm chosen. I don't need anybody else to come in here and tell me how wonderful we are and we need to go capture the land that God has told us to possess. I'm convinced of it. I know it. I know that that's who I am. And I know that's who you are. I don't need anybody else to come and tell us this church that we're not that bad.
Come on.
I didn't need your approval of that bad or not. I really wasn't looking for the award of not that bad. And so I don't need that. I don't need another evangelist to come tell me that we are called and we're chosen and we're anointed and all that stuff. I don't need anybody else to know that. I need you to know it.
Amen.
I need you to understand it. I need you to get full of the Holy Ghost and know that you're called.
Yes, amen.
And know that you're chosen. And know that you're full of the Holy Ghost. That's what I need you to tell me that. I need you to understand that and get hold of that in your life. I need you to grab hold of the calling that God has in your life. I need that from you. Because it's time for us to possess the land that God has given us and chosen us to be in possession of. Does anybody remember the vision of Brother Turner's? The white, y'all weren't here, some of y'all weren't here, but some of you do. This was 1982? 1982 was a long time ago. 35 years ago. I don't know if you know that or not, but I was young 35 years ago. I was 13 years old 35 years ago. I was 13 years old, throwing papers on a motorcycle. I was too young to be riding because I didn't have a license. So, that's what I was doing. 35 years ago, God spoke and said, "White substance all over the city." And we've been standing at the River Jordan for 35 years. And preacher after preacher after preacher has come and told us the same things. You're anointed. I know. You're called. Yeah, I get it. You're chosen. I know that. Because I choose to follow Him. But when is the congregation of the TOP going to get it?
Come on, that's good.
You're not just simply another little church in another little town, in another little state. That's not who you are.
Come on, preach it anyway.
Maybe I'm just naive. Maybe just every evangelist goes to every church and tells them that God has chosen me. I don't know. I never was an evangelist. I don't know. I don't know if every evangelist goes and lays his hands on people and they look at people and go, "God didn't know your God's on you." Maybe they do it to every church. I don't know. But all I know is that God's called me. God's chosen me. God's anointed me. And I need you to understand that God's called you. He's chosen you and anointed you.
Yes, come on.
You're not supposed to just stand in Jordan and say, "Man, that's a big wall." Yeah, it is a big wall. They're having chariot races on top. Cool. Awesome. I'm betting on red. How about you? I'm black. Okay. And we're standing there. And we're watching the chariot races. And they're laughing at us because they've been standing there for 35 years. We're not doing anything. We're not going to go across. So they started up the chariot races again. But the whole point that I'm trying to get across to you is this. Is I don't need anybody else to tell me that the anointing of God is in the house. I know it is. God's presence is in the house. I know it is. I know it. I don't need anybody else to come tell me that. What I need is a church that believes it. What I need is, I don't even need everybody. I just need some to believe
Yes, amen.
that God is really going to do what He said He's going to do. I'm almost done. Jordan, we're standing at the brink of Jordan. Go to Joshua 3 and 8. Go back to verse 8. Thou shalt command the priests to bear the ark of the covenant, saying, when you are come to the brink of the water of Jordan, you shall stand still in the Jordan. Now, I understand, I've read this story, I don't know how many hundreds of times I've read this story. It's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. I read it. And I understand that it was the time of the floods and the Jordan River had flooded, and I get it. It was time of the rainy season, and I get it. And the snow had melted on Mount Hermon and it had run down, and I get it. And it was full. It wasn't just a creek; it was full. And I understand that. And I understand that the Jordan was the adversary between them and victory. I get it. I get it. What's going on. It was a hindrance to get to their next victory. I get it. But do you understand this? I don't know what our adversary is, and I don't know what the thing is that keeps us from doing what it is that we need to do. But if you'll read this, you shall command the priests that bear the ark of the covenant, saying, you're coming to the brink of the water of the Jordan, you shall stand in the Jordan. Now get with me and I'll get you out of here. Just give me 10 minutes and I'll get you out of here. The priests are the spiritual leaders of Israel, right?
Right.
inside that box is, inside the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant is the Spirit of God, right?
Right.
And they carry it, and they stand into the brink of Jordan. When they're at the brink of the Jordan, here's what I don't understand, and I don't understand why Christians have to struggle with this. They're standing in the brink of the Jordan. Now we have to understand that God had the ark pass through the people, and when the ark passed through the people, His presence passed through the people, right? You with me?
Amen.
Look at my nose, y'all with me? Okay, so it went through the people, and they said, when the ark goes by, I'm supposed to follow the ark, right? And I follow the ark, and the leadership and the presence of God stand in the very thing that is supposed to hinder me from my victory. Are you with me? And so I don't have to battle this battle alone, because when I get to the Jordan, my priest, which is Jesus the high priest,
Amen.
come on somebody, and the presence of God are already in my victory. Come on, help me just a minute, because I don't have to battle this battle alone. I thank God I'm not in this battle alone. He said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. I have a high priest that goes before me and battles in my Jordan.
Amen.
And so we are not doing this on our own.
That's right. Come on.
You're not doing this by yourself.
Amen.
Please quit trying to be the Lone Ranger. He even needed Tonto.
Come on.
And he had to have silver, right?
Amen.
Okay. He had to have a horse. It'd been funny to see the Lone Ranger walking everywhere. And so he had to have a horse, right? And he needed Tonto. Bo needed Luke.
Yeah.
Amen?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get, Will needed grace. Okay, so listen. All right, and so I just to help you a minute. You're not in this thing by yourself. He's already gone before you and prepared a way for victory. Because when the priest stepped into the Jordan split. And they walked across on dry ground to a victory that God had called them to.
Amen.
So I'm going to ask you a question. When they walked across, did the walls fall? No. No. When they walked across, they were met by another adversary, another wall. And I know, and listen, I've read about Joshua. I love Joshua. Joshua is one of my favorite people in the Bible. And I know about Joshua. And I know Joshua was a man of war. And Joshua just likes to go in and just take care of business and just kill everybody and be done with it. That's Joshua's MO. Give me a sword, let's go. Give me about 50 guys, we're going to knock this out. That was his MO, that's what he did. But when he got to Jericho, God said, okay, tough guy, stay right where you're at. And point a spear toward Jericho. What? I thought we were going to take the city. Yeah, we are, but my way. I thought we were going to take the city. I thought we were going to... They began to march around the city. And they couldn't even talk. They couldn't even say a word. Now, they couldn't even talk, couldn't say a word. Okay? And so they couldn't even say anything. And they had to travel around Jericho in silence. And on the seventh, they had to do it 7 times. Can you imagine? They go, we're going to do this 7 times? I hate Joshua. Where's Moses? And so they marched around 7 times, and they yelled and blew trumpets in the 7th, and the walls fell. But Joshua then about to go in and do his thing. Okay? But hear me. Joshua was man, let's just go, man. Let's go. And then come over the hill, man, let's go. That was his way. But God said, you know what? Joshua, I know. But from today, everybody's going to follow you like they followed Moses, because if you'll listen to me. if you'll listen to me. Because you know what they could have done? They could have walked across on dry ground, went to Jericho, and again, come back across on wet ground. They could have got their tail end kicked in Jericho and had to swim across the Jordan to get out of there. All right? They could have lost thousands and thousands of people if they had done it their way, but they did it God's way, and God opened up the Jordan and opened up Jericho to them, and the battle was won. So my whole premise is this. We can say we're going to possess the land. We can eat our food and say we're going to possess the land. We can say, well, I've always done it this way, and we're going to possess the land the way I want to do it. Or we can let the Spirit of God flow through the people.
Amen.
And get into the river Jordan. And let my high priest and let the presence of God, of my God, come across and split it wide open, and we can go headlong into the battle and to take possession of the land that God has for us and do it God's way.
Amen.
Or we can do it our way and fail. God's prepared for us a harvest. The devil throws a Jordan at you when it's time for harvest. Look at the possibilities of crossing your Jordan. You forget about the harvest. Because it was a time of harvest when the Jordan was flooded. I'm a simple guy. To me, Christianity is this. I give my heart to the Lord. The Lord gives me eternal life. I give Him my life. And if I give Him my life, then I'm His servant, and I do what He tells me to do. Because I don't get to debate with Him who I am and what I am. I don't get to have a conversation with Him about, because He's my King and He's my Lord. I don't go clock in and say, okay, God, what would you have me to do today? Oh, I don't feel like doing that today. I'm going to work in this other department. I give Him my life, and He tells me what I'm going to do because He's my King and He's my Lord. And He does that. And He graduates me as my performance, not performance, as I obey, as my obedience goes. And so as I obey Him and learn to obey Him and obey His instructions, then I develop a relationship with Him and I understand who it is that I am. Okay? And then after that, I realized that Christianity is a harvest and harvesters.
Amen.
It's my job to go into the harvest field and bring my harvest to God. I understand that it's my job to go into the field and glean everything that I can and pull everybody I can and bring in the sheaves.
Amen.
Bringing in the sheaves. Okay? And we're supposed to bring those and present those to Christ, which is the reward of His suffering, our souls. And we're supposed to bring souls to the kingdom of God. And I understand that's what Christianity is. Me giving my life to God, God giving me eternal life. We say, okay, God, what would you have me to do? And following instructions and go winning the lost. That's what I'm supposed to do. It's very simple. I'm a very simple guy. And so, but sometimes when we are in battles, we forget that the harvest is the most important thing. The devil steals our harvest because we don't believe we can cross the river.
Right. Come on.
Come on.
How many people have perished because we've been afraid to cross the river? I don't want to think about that.
Come on.
I don't want to think about that in my prayer time. I don't want to think about that in my private time with God. I don't want to even remind God that I've even thought about that. Because as we're waiting for whatever reason to cross, people are perishing and souls are dying.
Come on.
All of our senses tells us we can't. But God says forward, children, forward.
Amen.
God is never a backup God.
Right.
He's always a forward God. Isaiah 59 and 19 says, from the west men will fear the name of the Lord, and from the rising of the sun they will revere His glory, for He will come like a pent-up flood that the breath of the Lord drives along. Isaiah 59:19. From the west men will fear the name of the Lord, And from the rising of the sun, they will revere his glory. For he will come like a pent-up flood that the breath of the Lord drives along. That's NIV. Sorry if it's the Antichrist going to use this emphasized King James. So they shall fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. For when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall raise up a standard against them. When the enemy comes in like a flood, God raises up a standard against them.
Yes, thank you, Lord. Come on.
When we think we can't, God says, yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Amen.
When we think we're not, God says, yes, you are. When we think there's no way, God says, yes, there is a way. When we think we're done, God says, no, you're just starting.
Come on.
When we think, oh, it's over, God says, no, it's just beginning.
Yeah.
When we think it's game over, God said, game again, do it again. When we think it's all over with, God says, no, baby, it's not all over with. It's just now starting. And here's where I'm going to start you from. Guys, we're standing at the brink. I was talking to my bride, I don't know what day it was, and I said, man, we're so close. We're so close. So close to what, Brother Jeff? Being the church that God called us to be. We're so close. We're I know that not everybody sees it, and everybody likes to complain about stuff. Because people are people, and they like to complain. Some of y'all drive you home with a new road. And so, here's the deal. Anyway. And we're so close. We're so close to being that church that God's called us to be. We're almost there. And insignificant little things that hinder us. Things that really don't matter. There are some major issues that we have to deal with, but there are some insignificant things that, we're swallowing camels and choking at gnats, and it's just goofy to me. We're so close. You guys don't understand how close this thing is exploding. And I'm telling you, I see it. We're so very close. I'm standing at the brink of the Jordan, and I'm saying, God, please part this thing for me. I'm just waiting. Standing there. Boom, 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 boom. Ready. We're idling. Gentlemen, start your engines. I love that part of the Indy 500. I love that. I never watched the race, I just like that part of it. This is cool to me. Gentlemen, start your engines. Boom! This craziness loud. So cool. Can I tell you, TOP, start your engines.
Amen.
Get ready. Ready to move. Get ready to go across Jordan. I promise you, God's going to split it. But listen, don't think the battle's over when it's with Jordan. That's just getting to the battle. The battle's not Jordan. The battle is Jericho. But the Jordan just keeps us from our victory.
Come on.
Amen?
Amen.
Amen? I'm going to share with you tonight that it's time to start your engines. Sanctify yourself so God will do great wonders among us. Lift up your head to see. I can see Jordan. I can see Jericho across there. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. You're not afraid if you know that your high priest and your God is fighting for you. You're not afraid. You're not afraid to step into Jordan when you know it's going to be dry when you step in it. I'll think to do with this story. I was playing golf in Seminole one day, and it's been a long time ago. Playing golf there, it was summertime and it was hot, and one of the ponds had dried up. And it's the one with the elevator green, I don't know whatever that is. But the pond in front of it had dried up, and my ball had hit the side of the elevated green and it rolled down onto that dried up pond. And I was like, oh, great. So I was just going to go get my ball. I stepped into that, what appeared to be a dried up pond, and it went up to my leg, this deep in mud. And I was like, great. So I had to finish a round of golf. It looked like I was black on one side and white on the other because I had stuck my foot into a mud pit. And it'd been 105, 106 degrees for a week. That's how, whatever year that was, 2011? 2011, whenever we had hot. And I thought, that's going to be dry. And I almost lost my shoe. I was really mad at my shoe. And so to think about, that's just a pond. And think about what God had to do to set you on dry ground through Jericho, also through the Red Sea, and through the dry ground. Think about it. What does God have to do to dry up the path for you to go to fight your enemies? Because your victory is your enemy. The river is just water. It's just a hindrance. We have an enemy. It's called the devil. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but the devil's a real devil. He's a mean devil. He doesn't care if he wants you to die. He doesn't want you to be sick. He wants you to die. He's out to kill, steal, destroy your family. He wants you over with. That's his goal. He's a real enemy. But we have a real God that's greater than him. Amen. Stand here with me. Give God a hand on the face.